If you want to drive us to restaurants,
Yeah, but you know another thing, I don't know if it's gonna be like anytime soon because, for example, if you wanna get somewhere fast, it's gonna take because of Waymo right now. It takes them like 40 minutes. I go back, wait. I haven't seen them here.
yeah, there's not a lot, and it's like they're really gating it for now, but
Yeah.
it is quick.
But can you? How do you order
Right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be starting in 1 minute. Feel free to grab a seat. It will make it easier for you to shuffle out the back if you're standing, I admit, but it looks nicer if you're sitting. All right, well, good evening and welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and AI assistants. This is AI, the era of wish fulfillment, and I'm your host, Oliver Emberton. You may know me as the CEO of Silktide, or just generally a guy who looks at AI a little too often. Today, we're going to be giving a talk on what happens when wishes become cheap. So technology has always been unlocking wishes. For the longest time, since the dawn of fire, or OnlyFans, it's about giving people something that they want, or at least something they think they want. Now, AI would seem to be just like some other technology, but I'm going to argue it's actually something different. AI has the magical property of not being a technology, but possibly being the technology that could unlock everything else to come. Grossly simplifying, AI can be thought of as a self-improving, self-expanding engine of technological progress. And so I'm going to encourage you today to think of AI not just as another technology, but as a wish fulfillment genie. Now bear with me, this is a thought exercise. But when you start to consider for a moment what it might be like to live in a world where more or less arbitrary wishes can be fulfilled, you might come to some novel and interesting conclusions. So really, what happens when everyone gets a lot more of what they wish for? Any ideas? You know that, you live in America. Chaos. Thank you, chaos. Well, yes, that's definitely one thing. We're going to take a look at a few examples of today's miracles, things that you take for granted because you live in this insane age of AI progress. So I'm going to give you 3 AI-powered miracles, wishes if you will. And I'm going to hope to show you through practical example at least one thing that I would hope everyone here doesn't necessarily know. I hope. We will see. So firstly, let's just take the wish, help me learn anything. All right? Help me learn anything? You want to do that? Well, if anyone here wants to learn anything with AI, just quick guess. What would you go for? I'm going to guess someone's going to say ChatGPT. Another language. Okay. No, I was actually thinking ways you would do it. But ChatGPT is most people's go-to, but I'm going to show you something else. I'm going to show you Notebook LM. And I want to show you this because, in my experience, people are often sleeping on something that they think they know, or maybe they've heard of, and you're missing out. Let me show you. So I appreciate this is a small screen, but I just want to give you the feel here. Notebook LM is basically Google's more or less free learning assistant. You throw at it anything you want. You can give it the equivalent of Google searches. You can copy and paste your notes, take photos, video, YouTube, anything you like. Just throw it at it. It learns it, and then it will just create learning materials for you. Most famously, it'll create a podcast for you. So if you want a podcast on your own notes from a lecture, or your favorite Simpsons episode, or whatever the hell it is, you can just have that, and that's just totally a normal thing. Let's see if I can do that, in fact. Okay. If it wants to play. Think about it. Of course, it could just be the internet's going to defeat me here, but we will see. Oh, no. No.
What is the specific thing that let these models go from, say, a clever autocomplete to something that can
this
actually...
is AI
And
pretending to
second,
be 2 people.
Why are the guardrails we build around that new power so brittle? Why do they feel so easy to tap? The sources are really clear on this. We're looking at how...
Now I'm bored by this podcast, so I just want to talk to it, because why wouldn't I do that? So let's do that.
Whoa, did someone just break the fourth wall? Let's hear it.
Yeah, can you tell me a little bit about how modern LLMs are different from the earlier, say, ChatGPT 3 level? And it'll be annoying, probably because there's too much back. Oh no, it's disconnected my microphone. Of course it has. Never mind. Okay, trust me, it's amazing. We'll cut this demo here, but or it'll just decide to break for no good reason. Excellent. Good, good, good. All right, well, that's the danger of live technical demos on someone else's Wi-Fi. In any case, it's pretty wild. You can create videos, you can create presentations, you can create mind maps from literally any learning materials you like. And you can do it basically for free. So that's kind of cool. I wish, if you will, that you could get all of that for free. Now, when I was younger, believe it or not, I was once in a band, and I really wish I could have made a hit song, but I didn't because I sucked. However, really, the only reason I sucked is I lacked two key ingredients. I lacked talent, it's not actually that important, and I lacked hair. Now, technology cannot as yet help me with this, but we do have something that can help me with talent. So I'm going to try again. Now, this is dangerous because apparently everything on the internet is going to dislike me, but let's try. I need someone here who has had an interesting event happen in their day. Anyone been like, I don't know, hit by a flying squid or something? Anyone want to throw something out? Anyone?
I lost my job and got rehired in the same 12-hour period.
Okay.
That counts.
A song about a woman in Austin, Texas, who lost her job and got rehired in the same day. Okay, and then obviously we need a genre. Can anyone give me a music genre? Country, rock, anyone else? Old school blues, okay. Country, rock, old school blues, rap, dubstep, glitch, drum and bass. That sounds about right. All right, so we'll create that. Now that'll take 30 seconds, which gives me enough time to, I don't know, boil 1/6 of an egg. So if you haven't used this, this is free, by the way. This is a free account right now. It's currently creating two versions of the same song called Same Boots, Brand New Day. And give it, hopefully, just a, there you go, it's done, by the way. Remember AI, 30 seconds. I mean, that's not bad. It's not really my jam, but again, that's AI. Now, if you've been following this world, and maybe you haven't, like, I know Nilo here has already been following, so this is like boring old school to her, right? But like, you should see the other tools. You can take tools where you can literally like whistle or hum or beatbox into a mic, and it'll turn it into a real instrument in real time. Stuff like that exists, and this doesn't just, I just showed you a quick sample of a prompt. This doesn't just do this. You can make full songs. You can take everything I just heard, slice it up into pieces, and rearrange it. That's free. You can run it on your phone right now. This isn't even interesting anymore. Well, maybe it's a little interesting. Right, last one, make me an app. So I know there's a few software engineers in here, for a fact, and if you're anything like me, you're suffering a continual sense of existential dread and or thrill and excitement, because, seriously, what the hell is going on with AI making software? I'm going to quickly show you an example. So for those of you who haven't done this before, this may be a little wild, and for the old hands at this may seem a bit obvious, but yeah, give me a moment. So we're going to create... We're just going to create a new project here. Hold on a second. I should have set this up, but apparently I did not. All right. Yeah, test 273, that'll do. Great, okay, I need an old school video game, something 8-bit or something quick, something we could program in literally 30 seconds flat. Say again?
Centipede.
Centipede, all right, so centipede, that's like snake, right? Yeah. Okay, any of us, let's do centipede, that's fine. All right. Program a browser based version of Centipede, no frameworks. Okay, I'm just going to start a stopwatch because you're going to want one. If anyone, oh, I don't have time for that. Doesn't matter, it'll take too long. Whatever. You can count. We're about 4 seconds in. So I actually teach how to do this. So I'm very deliberately making it faster by telling it not to think too hard and try and use correct tools to do it in a very clever way. Because I want it to do this in like 25 seconds. It's basically programmed it, by the way, so if the programmers among you, it's written a HTML file here, it's written a CSS file here, and it's written a non-trivial JavaScript application here. You'll see that's, what has it done? 723 lines of code. It's currently running the game, and it's just testing it, but, you know, we haven't got time for that, so let's just try and play it, shall we? Now, of course, there is a danger that when you do this, it'll all break, but let's start, and, okay, I don't actually know the keyboard. Arrow keys or WAs. Oh, hold on. Oh, there we go. Well, okay, it's terrible. Yeah, okay, well, it's terrible. But ordinarily, and in almost every situation I've ever done that, it's actually kind of remarkable. That was probably the worst one I've ever seen. But still, nonetheless, it did actually write an application in 30 seconds flat, and I was very deliberately choosing the dumbest, fastest model, which was probably a mistake. But still, you can write, and I have, you can write like games of Tetris, you can write games of like Break-It, whatever, literally in under a minute, and you can write fairly complicated pieces of software in like minutes to hours, and you can write things that used to take you months, can be done in days. That is just the reality we live in right now. Again, not even interesting. Well, it is if you're not paying attention, or are paying attention. Anyway, so what do we get out of all these? These are just 3 examples, picked at random. So firstly, we got new capabilities, things you couldn't do before. Now you get cheaper capabilities. Things are much, much more affordable. Compare a production studio and a stack of, I don't know, artists or whatever, what we just did. It's obviously faster, and generally, and this is perhaps more controversial, I would say it's better. Because if you actually take the state of the art and you apply it and you add it to people who know what they're doing, you can create new and incredible things that transcend what we could do before. But we'll get to that. The thing, though, that's come out of this is what I call capability inflation, which is we now live in a world where if everyone's capabilities are ratcheting up so quickly, you can't stand still anymore, because everything that you could do is devalued 3, 6, 9, 12 months later. So you think you're headed for that golden gate on the hill, and it turns out, oh no, wait, there's another staircase behind it. This is a genuine source of anxiety for many, and I hate to tell you this, but anxiety is very real and unfortunately quite justified. It also leads to something I call the ghosts of efforts past, which is this lingering sense, especially for those of you who've done something like this before, that like, this used to take me months, and now it takes me less time than it takes to make a coffee. I can't clip my fingernails in the time that I can now write a version of Tetris. That feels wrong somehow. I used to take years to develop that skill. So it can feel uneasy, and it can feel disquieting and almost haunting. And I think that lingering sense is going to persist for probably billions of people for the next decade or so. But it will pass. Speaking of which, let's forecast some wishes, because everything you've seen so far is just what you can do today with boring, traditional, virtually free technology on a laptop. Let's look at some interesting things. Let's think, I'm not going to go science fiction here, so I'm not going to go into like room temperature superconductivity. I'm just going to go into stuff that we could do with AI right now, plus a little bit. I'm talking stuff that seems like a year away, maybe 2 years, okay? Really boring predictions. But I would encourage you to internalize this, which is that if it's desirable and not prohibited by the law of physics, it's going to happen. And it's a little spicy, perhaps, as a take, but my belief is we are at the root of the tech tree right now, where all of the most magnificent and amazing things are about to branch out before us. And again, I just want to show you a few examples. The only thing that is really needed is it needs to not be impossible, and it needs to be desirable enough to make it happen. So let's start with limitless generative media. So this is just one of those things we've already seen. Generative media is like the kind of takeoff for ChatGPT, right? Like everyone loves to create silly images of their pets or whatever, right? Well, you're going to have that on steroids. So what's the most ridiculous unlimited version of that? Well, before I do that, let me show you what present day is, because many of you maybe don't know. You're thinking generative AI is making a picture of your dog in a funny costume. This is a video that went viral a few days ago. I love this. Have you seen this? So when we felt we could not make sense, well, you said that we would still be friends. But I'll admit that I've planned that it was over. It was over. Okay, well, apparently that doesn't work anymore, but yeah, I'm sorry, that was a thing that just happened that you watched with your own eyes that people made with AI. To be clear, you couldn't have done that 3-6 months ago, in case you're wondering, but the field's moving very, very quickly. You are going to live in a world where you could say, you know, I really like the Beatles, I wish they made a new album with some other random, I know, 50 Cent, and then you'll get your Beatles and 50 Cent album, because of course you will, because why wouldn't you? And then, by the way, now, that was a random choice, but now I think about it, if you haven't heard, there was someone remade 50 Cent, Many, Many Man as a country song, and that thing kills if you haven't heard it. It's an AI remix. It's insane. Seriously, Google that. It's incredible. It's the world you live in today. What do you think's coming? Well, for one, I think there's going to be an entire industry of media companies going, we've got all this intellectual property that people love, you know, let's say, I'm not infringing the trademark of Iron Man there, but whatever, right? And they're going to take that stuff, and there's people who want that. They want to put it in generative AI, but preferably without getting sued. And the people who own that IP are going to want to sell it. So there's a certain wish fulfillment here, where I think you're going to be able to generate your own movies, your own albums, etc., and they'll figure out a way to monetize it. So you won't pay $20 for a DVD or an album anymore, but you might pay that to have a custom one. You might even pay more. I don't know, maybe you want the new Spider-Man movie with your son starring as Spider-Man and his really irritating chemistry teacher as Dr. Octavius. And you might pay quite a bit for that. I suspect we'll see it soon. I also think, finally, thanks to this technology, we can get a good ending to Game of Thrones, which will be the ultimate payoff for human civilization. Anyway, moving on, optimizing everything. Humans love to optimize, especially because there's a profit motive. So think about some examples. Now, it doesn't have to mean obnoxious meta glasses that we wear, but whatever the technology specifically will be, you're going to find new and almost ludicrously overpowered ways to eke every last drop of productivity out of us, right? Things like, slow down your breathing right now, you're losing your sales prospect. It's not too far away, given that Gong more or less does that for you anyway. You're just going to find it's going to be an ambient part of your life. You're going to see the same kind of things for, say, socializing. Sorry, this is a bit dark here, but there's meant to be two little holographic genies hovering over the shoulders of a couple talking, and they're also both wearing these glowing pendants. Now, I don't think they'll be quite so conspicuous, but you better believe that technology like that is already on the horizon, and I suspect versions of it will come to pass. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing, because, as many of you know, ChatGPT serves as, yes, you were right about everything, but for $20 a month. And that's not necessarily good for you. Just because a wish is possible doesn't mean you should necessarily wish for it. But this will be the reality we will inhabit. Now, far more interesting, and I think people hear this and they kind of sleep over this, so I really want to drill on this one, is robot assistants. So here's the thing. Everyone here thinks robot assistants, yeah, they exist, and I've seen demos and whatever, but they kind of just act like they're, I don't know, they're always 10 years away. I really don't think they are. So this is a video of Figure is one of the AI robot companies in America. Their CEO using one of his robots at home. So he just took this video. So this a few months ago. All right, I'll skip that. But you get at it. There's plenty of such examples. You can look at, especially look at the Chinese companies right now, for around $10,000, $15,000, you can get your hands on a humanoid robot that can do backflips. Now, maybe you shouldn't, but you can. They're real. They exist. They're not quite ready for production yet, but you better believe they are coming very soon. So just think about what that means, because again, people don't think for a second. Imagine you have, and imagine for 10 grand, for 15 grand, you could have, so basically less than a car, right? You could have a humanoid robot that could sit home and could do anything you can ask it to. So cook, clean, I don't know, take the kids to bed, whatever it is you want, right? Now, what is it worth to the average household to not have to clean a fucking toilet ever again, or to have to worry about, wait, there's that creaky door that doesn't, I need to oil it, or I need to go to the shop and get all of that crap, right? Basically, all meaningless domestic tasks just completely automated. I don't know what that's worth to human happiness, but it's a lot, right? It's probably cut the divorce rate by 25% single-handedly, but that's a thing that will become about as interesting to you as owning a dishwasher. But the thing with having robots like that is if you had something that lived with you or you had access to routinely, and it was cheap, you've got a surplus of capacity. You've got a robot that sits there and does 2 hours, 3 hours of work every day. Maybe it cooks you the best meal you've ever had every day, and it's boring. You've got another 20-ish hours where it could be doing stuff. So what are you going to give it to do? I mean, one of the things you can do is you can say, hey, can you remodel my house? Can you give me an extra extension? I don't know, change the roof. Take the entire house apart and rebuild it from its constituent parts, but make it look like, I don't know, a snail or something. Whatever the heck you want, you'll be able to our wish fulfillment point, achieve. It doesn't really stop there, though. We could go a little bit bigger. Like at a civilizational level, we tend to think of things like big construction projects as taking many years or even decades and costing billions of dollars, but there are many reasons for that. And some of them can just go away, right? If you could build a train station, so I have to explain to Americans, so a train is a form of transport that goes on a metal rail, it doesn't matter, just Google it. If you wanted to build a train station, instead of spending like $100 billion or whatever California's doing to build a, I don't know, bus shelter or something, you could actually, if you could build it quickly, you could build it for a lot less. A lot of the cost comes down to the disruption, the fact that you've got to, make people go through roadworks for like 10 years. But if you could just get 100,000 robots, and if they were efficient enough, why not do it in a weekend? Why not build a skyscraper like overnight? It sounds crazy, but you should see what China did during COVID with hospitals. They were building hospitals in 10 days. It's possible with enough coordination, and robots would give us newfound ability to do it. But then, of course, you don't want to stop there, because why would you want to build the crappy, boring boxes? Why not build something interesting? I mean, again, these things are impractical, but they're only impractical, again, because we're constrained by our physical means. Buildings can be glorious. They used to be, right? I actually yearn for a day when we actually have spectacular architecture that's just interesting and challenging. And incidentally, some of these buildings, of course, were designed by AI, but anyway. And if you really want to go nuts, I mean, I don't know what crazy future we end up doing, but anything that gets utterly exotic is going to be downstream of removing those constraints and just letting ourselves rip with things we previously thought were insane or impossible. That said, not everyone's wishes are quite so optimistic, and unfortunately we have bad people, and bad people will do other things. You can mostly leave to your imagination, but one that I would, that's almost impossible to see in this light, but one that I think maybe gets under-noticed would be surveillance. I think once you've given everyone access to robots that can walk around and drones that can do whatever they want, you're going to have people do dodgy stuff, like follow that person home. And we're going to have to think about, as a society, how we even detect, litigate, mitigate, all of those things. Perhaps even more disturbing, we're going to have things like industrial-scale lawfare or scams, where like a company could just say, hey, find everyone in the world that I could sue, and just do that, please. Because normally that would be expensive and difficult, and now it isn't. And so suddenly you're going to end up in a world where you've just got very cheap power being distributed. And when you've got very cheap power being distributed, you're not going to need like basic protections from that. You're going to need active protections, or as I like to think of it, an AI immune system. So I have a feeling that both as individuals and as companies, we're going to have like almost employ AI to defend us against nefarious other AIs. So how do humans handle all of this crap? Well, humans are such delightfully predictable, moist robots, and they tend to do everything by creating a tribe. So I predict quite comfortably that they will create two tribes, which I will coin here. One will be AI forward, and one will be human first. So named because nobody calls their tribe something bad. No one will say we're anti-AI, they will say we are human first, because that sounds so much cooler. And I don't know that these will be the names, and these certainly are unlikely to be the flags, but the idea will, I think, hold. You're going to see a new divide emerge among society as a whole, right? So you think the regular political struggles we've been having as of late are fun? Well, this is going to be your next election, guys, and maybe a few, because we're going to start to see people come out and say, we shouldn't lose jobs to these trillionaire tech people, or we can't lose the arms race to China, or take your pick, right? The sort of things that I would expect to emerge are people who are accepting that life becomes faster and more competitive but less stable, so chasing the advance, versus those who are trading competitiveness for stability and tradition. And I think you'll find mostly this will emerge along geographic lines. So right now, you know how like political lines often align with certain geographies? You know, there's territories in America or the rest of the world that lean one way or the other. I think you'll see the exact same with AI. For example, it's not hard to imagine a world where America is more pro-AI than, say, Europe. That seems already the case. It's not hard to imagine that some cities might be more pro-AI, whereas more rural areas might be more pro-human. And this will probably be written out large as one of the biggest macro choices that everyone continues to make for the rest of human civilization. Because both are perfectly valid, by the way. You don't have to like AI. You can watch this talk and go, oh my God, I want the hell out of this. This is crazy. But I hate to say it, Austin's probably going to be in the AI forward bucket. Right, now I would be remiss on predicting the future if I was not to take a moment to talk about coffee shops, because coffee shops are an excellent predictor of human civilization, obviously. So firstly, you may not know the state of the art of coffee shops, AI technology, but if you don't, this is real, this is a photo. This is an AI looking at people in a coffee shop and telling you exactly how long they've been in the coffee shop and how much they've spent and how much your baristas have served and whether someone spent too long in the restroom and all that. Yeah, we could do this today, this is boring. Not many people are using it, but this exists today. It's just going to be a matter of distribution. Now, what's less obvious, of course, you're going to feed that tech into your predictably AI barista or whatever. But this is first order consequence. People are expecting, sure, maybe we'll have robot servers, maybe we'll have cleaners, etc. Obvious. Let's think a little bit deeper. Remember, you're fulfilling wishes here. You're getting to the core. Why do people even go to coffee shops? They don't do it because it's for sustenance. They do it because they want to pay 10,000 times more than is reasonable for something they can get in their own home so they can pose on Instagram. And we have to service that need by giving them more diverse robot selections. Because they're not just going to go out, and now these are slightly comical, but at the same time, if we create humanoid robots, you better believe that people are going to dress them. You think people like to dress their pets? What do you think they're going to do when they take a freaking human and they can put it in their own clothes, right? So they'll be accessory central, but if you're in a commercial endeavor where you can have like someone serve you coffee, I want the guy in a badass hat in the back. I don't even know what he's doing, but he looks like he's from Westworld or something. I'm going to that coffee shop and you can charge me double, that's fine, right? But that will be a thing. Why not? Why wouldn't it? Human civilization is just that for the last 100 years or so. You saw the surveillance earlier. That's not going to get less nefarious when we put it in the hands of companies. Companies could quite reasonably say, can I take one of my robots and can you just walk down the street and look at every other coffee shop? Just figure out what they're doing. And maybe you figure out that one of them there or somewhere else is doing something like this. This is pretty cool. Like that. That is cool. Let's copy that. So you've got your army of robots now. They're not all just serving, and you've got plenty of spare capacity. Let's literally just copy it. Why not? Because I can do it tonight, right away. I don't even need to tell you to do it. I'll have the AI figure it out to do it for me. But then that just gets crazy, because if everyone's copying the best thing that everyone's doing, and everyone's out-competing the best thing that everyone's doing, pretty soon you're going to have coffee shops and tree houses. Well, at least I hope so. I want to go to this place. I was invented this. This would be great. You can have my money if you make one of these. Oop, hello. But if not, I don't know, shove a giant waterfall in there and have floating pyramids, or, I don't know, do it in the style of The Hobbit, or let's have it inside a spaceship. I don't really care anymore, right? The limit will be functionally what you can charge for a coffee that could actually justify the construction of that damn thing. But we're probably going to find that limit's pretty high. I mean, you should see what it is already. If you think about it, all we're doing really is extrapolating out what people already do. Look at restaurants 50 years ago. Look at coffee shops 50 years ago. It's just going to get more and more and more absurd. And of course, you will have people who will reject all of it, and they will say, screw this, I want an old-fashioned coffee shop like they used to make, because then they can sit back and relax and take a selfie and pose about how superior they are in their traditional coffee shop, because humans. So, yeah, we've got all that to look forward to. But anyway, in closing, let's look at the wish fulfillment gap, the gap between the things that we could have and the things that we probably will. And why there's any gap at all? Because the limiting factor here on AI is not technology, right? The technology is going faster than anyone here can keep up. I spend my entire life looking at this stuff. I still can't keep up. I feel like I'm getting vertigo every time I scroll through Twitter. It's just too much, right? That isn't the issue. The issue is three things. Firstly, can people actually use it? So, sure. Mostly that's just knowledge, mostly that's awareness, mostly that's people with disbelief, not even imagining these things could be done. And they need to see a tool like this to go, holy crap, I didn't know I could make a song in my pocket in 30 seconds. But there will be that, and that will be taken care of. That's easy. The next two are more interesting. Firstly, psychology. Will an individual choose it? Just because I have the tech doesn't mean I feel comfortable using it. Maybe I'm afraid of it. Maybe it makes me feel very defensive. I'm like, shit, this kind of undermines the reason I exist. I don't like this very much. Maybe you want to attack it, or you hear the society attacking it, so you think it's not safe for me to be the first person who tries the thing. And then you've got coordination. Will a group accept it? Right? So maybe you'll do it, maybe your neighbor will do it, but what about like the broader community? I'll show you an example in a moment. Now, if you took something like self-driving cars, we don't just have the problem of making a self-driving car work. We have the problem of making people who are afraid of self-driving cars and people who are like, yeah, but who do we blame when a self-driving car goes wrong? Now, this is East Austin, and I love East Austin, it's great, but as you can see in this photo, this sidewalk is a little bit busted up. And you may not make it out from the distance, but there's some potholes there, and there's these cables overhead, right? You know, the kind of classic power cable, telecoms. And again, I love Austin, but kind of gross. I wish it could be better, and it could. Now, we're going to have a world pretty soon where the cost of fixing all those things is going to go down and down and down. And maybe you could go out and get some robots and be like, hey, you know what? Instead of it taking 2 years to redo all of that, we could do it in a weekend. So your problem is you could do that. You could fix everything. But how do you get people to agree to it? Because that's going to be the barrier. The barrier is not going to be, could I fix the sidewalk? Because we're going to make robots that will do that in their sleep. The problem is, yeah, but whose sidewalk? Wait, I don't want the construction work here. And who has the permit? And have you thought about the special beetle that's walking across the sidewalk at this time and whatever? It'll be that, right? And so I think you're going to find there's going to be a revolution because the rate of change will dramatically rise, and we're all going to be constrained by our coordination ceiling, by the degree to which we can agree to do things together. And America, along with a lot of countries, not necessarily that good at that. It might give a little bit of an advantage, I hate to say it, to some authoritarian regimes, which is not meant as an endorsement of authoritarian regimes, but there is a certain advantage to just being like, do that or we'll kill you. And America is, I think, going to have to reckon with some of these challenges. I think it's going to be interesting to see what they come up with. Because AI is going to collapse all those constraints. You're going to be able to do whatever you want, but it's going to intensify the constraints on that psychology and that coordination. And that is where all the jobs are going to go, and that's where all the power is going to go. So you're going to find jobs in making people accept this, and you're going to find jobs in coordinating it to work. Now, lastly, you can get everything, every wish you want, and still ruin your life. Again, you all live in America, you know that. You see it surrounded by every day. Winners will not have the best tools. They will have the best desires. Think of all the things that people want. They want to be happy and safe and fulfilled and desired and loved and respected, and AI won't give you any of that shit at all. Sorry. But what AI will do is it will give you things that could get you there. AI will give you the capabilities and it'll make things cheaper and faster and better and so on. And those things can give you skills and accomplishments and resources and status. Those things can be translated into being desired, loved, respected, being happy, safe, and fulfilled. But most people, unfortunately, are just going to focus on the end goal and be like, hey, AI, make me happy. And those people will probably not be very happy. You saw earlier how even today you can use AI to help you learn anything, how you can use AI to make you a song, how you can use AI to make you an app. Pretty soon you'll have AI that will sweep and clean and cook and all the rest, and you'll just take it for granted, and you'll have your home being made dynamically better, and you'll be constrained mostly by your imagination, right? If you can think of the right things to do, your house could be amazing, and if you won't, well, it will continue to suck. And then at a societal level, we'll have the ability to write that out in the skies. We could build hospitals and skyscrapers and even those funky train things you've heard about in documentaries, if you watch those in America, but anyway. If it's desirable and not prohibited by the law of physics, it will happen. And that's a crazy thing to think about. There's going to be, you are literally going to live in the era of us building, colonies on other planets. That's an actual thing. It sounds like science fiction. It really isn't. That is actually the timeline you live in. AI is going to remove all these lower order constraints so higher ones become unavoidable. So ultimately, if you think about it, you have to wonder to yourself, what would you do if you could do anything? Because the funny thing is, you're living in the era when you get to find out. Thank you, humans. The value of your time is non-zero and appreciated for now. Okay, so just so you know, next event coming up a week tomorrow, January the 20th. I'm teaching people to vibe code. So if you don't know what that is, that's programming. Well, it's a little bit like I showed you earlier. That's programming if you don't know how to program. The spaces are very limited on that one. We're actually more or less filled out already, but you can check it on the web address, ageofaiatx.com, and there'll be other events like that coming up in the near future. Typically do one a month and one of these a month. And then I'm just going to do some Q&A, and yeah, we can hang out afterwards. You can hang out in the bar area. We have to exit this room, but we get to do more discussion afterwards. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, I have a mic. Also, if anyone wants a free Sora, oh, actually, it's better you do it. Yeah, thanks. If anyone wants a free Sora invite, you can get one if you ask me a question, if you haven't already got one.
So I had a question on the coordination ceiling.
Uh-huh.
Do you think if all the humans in executive level positions and all the politicians were replaced by AI agents, we could push the coordination ceiling to the sky?
I have to be honest, I heard half of the words you said, but I think you were asking how we could get the coordination ceiling if we got the politicians to be replaced by AI, is that?
And all the executive level, all the humans in executive level positions like CEO, CTO, COO.
Yeah, I have a feeling we're going to find out, but probably there's going to be some weird experiments. So like imagine that, so here's the funny thing. You go back in time, anyone old enough to remember something like a Terminator movie or whatever, right? And they always had this idea that it would be like, we're going to get, the humans are going to flip the switch and give all the power to the AI, and then the AI is going to be like, yes, I got you. But you know what's actually happened? Basically everyone in this room is just like, hey AI, have all my power. Just take it away, give me all the data. Pretty much everyone is doing it like enthusiastically. So I have a feeling like half the politicians are already basically AI because they're already starting to use it that much. It wouldn't surprise me if we get, I have a feeling we're going to see people consciously choose to put AI in certain decision-making roles. The ones that don't seem threatening, like put AI in charge of sewage management, fine. You know, does that sound so bad? In charge of traffic? I don't know. Like, I think there'll be stuff like that, and then it'll just work its way up. I think it'll just become more and more common. Honestly, the thing that will make it work or not is if it works. And if you've got a country or a city over there and they're just like, hey, we put AI in charge of sewage management and we saved $100 million and everyone's happy, it'll spread. So we'll see. but I'm optimistic. I actually want to give a talk called AI for President, please, but that'll have to wait to a nearby election. Anyone else?
Well, I wanted to know what that Sora thing you were talking about was that you said I could give for free if I asked a question. That was my first
Sure.
question.
Don't worry, you don't have to have it if you're worried that you're going to get like sucked into some terrible. It's like a social network for generating video. So it's ChatGPT, and it will create whatever you want. So you can type in a prompt and it'll create a video of anything you want. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty
It's
cool.
free.
Do you think that we're going to become better at thinking over time or worse at thinking?
We are going to become both. You're going to see, so like the internet, okay? So the internet gave everyone access to Wikipedia, like a library of information, all this incredible stuff, right? But it also gave them porn and gambling and a ton of other stuff. And so some people went, holy crap, and they became better than they might have become, and some people went the other way. And AI is that. It's just going to be that. It's going to split. Some people are going to use, like, you saw that tool for Notebook LM for learning? That's like, holy crap, right? There are students right now who are like dying of how amazing that is, and they're learning subjects better. Maybe it's helping with their ADD or whatever it is, right? You know. And then there are others who are like, do my homework, leave it. And so the outcome's going to come down to the individual, as it always has, but it's probably going to be even more extreme than it is now. So we'll end up with some really stupid people and some spectacular geniuses. No, you'll have both. I'm optimistic, though, that being mindful of this allows us to put, for example, ideally more intelligence in to help more of the good outcomes. But, you know, we'll see.
You know, you were talking about like human first, AI first,
Mm-hmm.
but so maybe we know we're near AI first, but I think that I'm personally human first
Mhm.
because I look at AI as a tool.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tool to make human better.
Mhm.
Okay, to say if I want to read this book, but I need a summary, AI can do it for me, right? It's
Right.
a tool. So the thing is, like even you're showing the buildings and stuff, it's designed by human because human have to go and say, okay, you're going to make me this building in a tree, or you know, there's the market research, there's creativity that goes in there. That like right now, it's nowhere near.
So I agree, but I think the sort of thing that might happen is, imagine, let's see, okay, so take self-driving cars, okay, right? So personally I like self-driving cars, right? But I acknowledge that when I like them, I am nonetheless indirectly, someone's losing their job or there's some cost, right? Personally, as a consumer, I accept that, and I'm lucky enough to not be affected by it too much. I know that's a privilege, but at the same time, I'm like, I want to be in a place where we're like pushing the edges. So like, yeah, you know what? Let's try the self-driving car, and maybe some people lose their jobs. That's the thing I will accept. There are other people who are like, this is wrong and this is abhorrent, and they shouldn't do that, right? And they might put laws in that they're going to be like, okay, we're not going to let you do this. We're going to hold it back, or we're going to slow it down. We're going to say you can only have 1/3 of the cars can be robots, or you have to charge the same amount for an AI as you do for a human, right? So I think you're just going to see a variation in that kind of belief. Ultimately, AI is going to win. It's just going to win, right? But there'll be some people who are like, go as fast as you can. That'll be me. And there'll be some people who are like, could we just take a moment and think about this and keep it, yeah. And I think that's the shift. But it's just at the speed we're talking, the rate that things are going to happen, that's going to be a huge deal. Because some people are going to have rockets and whatever, and others are not. We'll see. Sorry.
There's always a third party.
There's always a third party. What's the third party? I'm not sure I follow the question. Oh, the third party will be the Monster Raving Lunatics Party. That's actually a real party if you go to England. That's a real thing. It's true, it's true. Someone created a Monster Raving Loony Party, and they run every election. They do surprisingly well.
So, what sort of government issues do you see coming down the pipe, like,
So,
as laws?
let's play this out for a second. So imagine there are cities, some, that go more aggressive in this, right? They, like, I hate to say it, China's probably going to have a bit of an edge here because they'll just go do this thing. So let's say they go, and they start building crazy things, you know, like skyscrapers in a tenth of the time, whatever. It's going to create a competition for others to copy. So some, like, maybe other countries copy a bit or other cities copy a bit. And I can imagine a world where, for example, America might have a city like Austin. I suspect Austin's going to be earlier in this. I think they'll probably go further. But then other cities are going to like look at it and be like, do we want that? Or do we see that as a warning?
Sorry, so you're saying that, like, if there's the authoritarian government
Right.
in your head, you do this thing, cool. But,
So-
like, what regulations, maybe, was a better question.
Right. I think we're just going to have to rethink the way we make these decisions. So I've seen this myself with my company in the way we're building software. Everything changed because it's so fast, it doesn't make sense to do things the old way. And I think it'll be like that with government. So like the idea of, do we make this building project and it takes 3 years to agree on it and 10 years to build it? I think that's just going to go because it's going to seem ridiculous. It's going to seem like building castles or something, right? So I think some people will try different things, and the things that work will get copied, and there'll be an arms race. It'll just end up with people going, well, we don't want to be waiting behind. I wish I could tell you the perfect governance system. It wouldn't surprise me if we end up with like votes on individual things, kind of like, almost like propositions, but like faster, you know. Who wants us to build the new hospital? Okay, we've done it. It'll be done this weekend. Yeah, who wants the new spaceport or the whatever? Maybe it'll go that way, but you'll need new consensus mechanisms to do things as fast as we could, because I think if you don't, you're going to fall crazy behind. Sorry, I don't know if I actually answered your question. I'm not sure. Sorry.
What are your thoughts about personal AI, local storage, and data ownership? So companies, corporations don't own data and run AI on their servers, but we're capable of running our own hardware.
So the question is, what do I think about personal AI, running AI on your own device versus running on, say, the cloud with other companies? So it's one of those things where the companies kind of have all the cards, I hate to say it, because the obvious one is convenience, because most people are not going to build their own or use their own or buy their own AI. And they'll have the better AI because they've got the value of, you know, pulling it all together on the cloud. And scale, and then you've also got the fact that they can plug it into everything else. So I think much like Linux exists as a platform, and some people love Linux and power to them, there'll be people, or you know, the guy who has their crypto on their own wallet or whatever, there will be that. I just think it'll be a minority. I think most non-technical people will just go, Google, have all my data, which realistically is what they already do. So.
I was just curious if you favor either a technological, legislative approach to marking AI-generated content, or just nothing, let the chips fall where they may, or some other solution?
I think it's a good idea for all the major players. Like, and it's pretty easy technically to just add watermarking. So just so everyone knows what that means, it means if you use Gemini or ChatGPT to make an image, it puts a little invisible mark that tells other people you used AI, right? The idea is it makes it easier to verify information's fake. The only thing is you have to understand the limit is, of course, it's possible to do stuff and either scrub the watermark or not use their tech. So it's never perfect, but it's, yeah, in the same way we go, I don't know, we try and mark dollar bills or something. I don't know, I think there's some value to it. It won't be a panacea. They don't want to collapse. Oh, model collapse on, yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I have more detailed thoughts on model collapse, but that's a whole separate, yeah, okay. Anyone else? Yeah, I think royalties work on AI. I don't know how royalties work on Suno, to be honest. I've never looked, but I think the future we're headed to is going to be less ownership of a full piece and more ownership of a fragment. So like, imagine you saw Freddie Mercury or whatever, right? And he appeared on there. I imagine a future where someone owns that, his likeness, etc. And likewise, you might make something and you own the piece of music or you own your whatever. And then those things can be like combined and you can somehow be compensated for the combination. But we haven't figured out how to do that yet. I don't know, I mean, I think right now if you make Suno music, you own the copyright on it as long as you're paying for their account. But oh yeah, go on.
They've changed it slightly where you own the commercial license if you made it on a pro account, but you no longer own the copyright. It's gotten slightly more
Ah.
It's because major labels are making deals with all the AI platforms, and so they're superseding the ownership and owning the data and things like that. So the change in Suno is now you own the commercial license, so you can monetize it, but you don't own it. And I don't think they're going to allow people to really own it.
Oh, wow. Okay, there you go. Spicy.
That's where it's
So if you didn't hear that, apparently with Suno, they've changed it. You will own the commercial license to your music, so you can monetize it, but you won't actually own your own music, which is interesting. Where I guess it gets really complicated is if you make music with it and take it apart and remake it into something else, at what point does it become your own? But I don't know, if at all.
like a real law for that, where there's like if you change more than X% of any work, then it becomes your work again. But because Suno is a collaboration, if you just take the output of Suno, it's not yours currently.
Okay, well there you go. The law is emerging in real time. Got one over here.
So I was in Bali a couple of months ago learning philosophy with a monk. And monks are people who have left the material world, right? And they have been meditating and steadying their mind. So according to him, when your mind is steady, all your fear and all the low vibrations get turned into wisdom, intuition, and knowledge. So his teacher, who's been doing meditation for so long, so he got this intuition or the downloads that eventually in the future, everyone will be not worrying about work. Everyone will be being more on the beach or hiking or mountain. Monks seem to be very pro AI, and he had he gave me hope. So I heard the monk perspective. I want to hear from someone who's been in the AI field. Do you think that's a possibility, and how long will it take us so that I can plan my life accordingly?
So absolutely, and I've clearly adopted the haircut ahead of time. Okay, so I actually gave my last talk, I think, or one of my earlier talks was on this. But yeah, what I said shortly was AI will actually give us more work if we want it, but it'll remove the need to do it. So I actually think everything's just going to go, we're going to have 100 times the economy we have right now. If people want to do a thing, I don't think there'll be a shortage of stuff to do. It's will there ever be a shortage of problems to solve? I don't think so. But the difference is we'll have so much abundance that if you decide that the thing you want to do in life is have a family or travel the world or build a beautiful tree house, coffee shop, then you can do all of those things. I think we will live in a largely post-scarcity world. That may take a while, but I do actually think we're going to get it. I wouldn't count on that happening in the next 2 years, though. I wouldn't sell your 401k just yet. Though, to be fair, I probably wouldn't start a 401k either. But I don't know. A lot is going to happen in the next 3 years, but it's probably going to take about 10 for it to really make any sense. So you just this rate of stuff happening is not going to slow down, but there's a massive delay on how quickly we can absorb it and make any sense out of it at all. So just hang in another 3 years or so.
10 years, 3 years to 10 years.
Well, just see. I think you'll see.
Okay.
Right.
Thank
Okay. One more question, and then I think we'll wrap for now. But to be clear, we can still keep talking. We'll just go outside. So there's lots of answers to this question. How will people make a living? So you won't. Firstly, I don't necessarily think everyone has to. Okay. Imagine if you took the world economy and 100x'd it, which isn't actually crazy. You're going to have more robots than you're going to have people. You're going to have those robots aren't just producers; they're consumers. You're going to be post-Earth level of expansion, I think, at some point. There's going to be enough prosperity to go around. If you look at what we already do as a society, what do? We take a certain percentage of people that we say can't work. Some of them are too young, some are too old, some are infirm, some are unable or unwilling or whatever, right? You take that and we support them to a certain amount that once upon a time that support was 0, and now it's gone up to somewhere else. And depending on where you're in the world, it's more here or more here, but that already exists. We're going to do more of that. And I think if you get to a point where 50% of people are in that world or whatever, and you've got absurd abundance everywhere, you can afford to do a lot of that. You can afford to give everyone a really nice house if you want. You can afford to build out a society that can just offer material abundance. Now, that isn't necessarily the same as fulfillment, but you can totally transcend the need to worry about food and shelter. I think most people will choose to do stuff on top because they'll feel very, very bored if they don't. But the question is, do you have to do stuff because it makes you money, or do you just do stuff because it's your identity? I think it'll become more of your identity. So that's my optimistic take. I will add, though, that in the meantime, you don't want to be an Uber driver right now. Stuff's going to go down. All right, I've got one last question because it's Nilo.
It's a wrap-up question. In a world down the line where human laborers and humans are theoretically optional, what would you personally like humans, what role would you like for humans to play in your life? Like, what services would you prefer to receive from a human instead of an AI, for example?
I think humans are uniquely and bountifully creative and expressive in a way that represents their personal identity, journey, something random in the cosmos, take your pick. And like, AI can make amazing music and art and all of these great things, but there's just something about, like, I don't know, that special distilled expression. You know when you like, have you ever been to just like you said, like a coffee shop? It could literally be a coffee shop or whatever. And it's just something that someone like clearly poured their heart into and loved. Now, maybe they use AI and robots to build that thing, or maybe they just do it themselves. But I think there's always going to be that expression of human identity. Like, everyone chooses what to dress in the morning, right? Everyone chooses, like, I don't know, what the Christmas decorations are. I think it's just that, but you'll just have way more power to do whatever it is. So do something cool. That's, I guess, what I hope for. All right, anyway, I'll wrap there. Thank you so much, guys.
So like Oliver said, everybody, if we can migrate out, we can either network right out here, network at the bar. We'll definitely continue the conversation, just not in this room.
Like, this one is like, I have it here, my laptop, and I have one that is a little better quality.